Wait, here we go with a one question example for the day. So you got a 2-page assignment. I'll do the first one and then you guys can finish them up. So I will do number 7 and you guys have to do 8 and 9. That's it. We'll get a little more practice on Thursday, review Friday, quiz next Monday already. So we're going to interpret the graph of a function, and for those of you that had a question on the last problem from yesterday's homework, this will help you out. So you can go back and resubmit if you want to ensure that you get a 4 on the homework instead of a 3 would be, you can go back and make a quick change on the last one. So it says Jay rides a boat from his home to his friend's house. In a neighboring state, the graph of the function 30 times the absolute value of t minus 1.5 shows the distance of the boat in miles from the state line at t hours. Assume the graph shows Jay's entire trip. Okay, so he's going to, remember, let's go back here, he's going to a neighboring state. And it says, how far does he visit, or how far does he travel to visit his friend? Well, as he leaves the first state, which I guess is Arizona, if we look over here, it would appear that he started 45 miles away, and then he went all the way to the border. So he went 45 miles. And then, coincidentally on this one, now his distance increases away from the border, and then he stops at his friend's house over here, also 45 miles away. So how far did he travel? He traveled 45 miles there, 45 miles there, so he traveled a distance of 90 miles. It says, how does the graph relate to the domain and range of the function? Well, we know that at minimum, the domain has to be positive. I suppose he could drive at any speed he wants to get there. But in this case, we could probably be more specific, but the domain has to be positive. And same thing with the range. The range, so it also has to be positive. So you could be more specific and maybe classify that as positive real numbers. And you could probably set a limit on those, like saying maybe the possible range we could say is positive real numbers. We could also say maybe 0 is less than or equal to the number of miles. And it looks like it taps out here at 45. So if you really wanted to be specific, we could be. And you could do the same thing with the hours if you wanted. Number of hours, according to this, is between 0 and 3. So 2 different ways you could approach that, depending on how you feel you're answering the question. I'm not going to say either one's wrong. Not in this case, at least. So it says rate of change, and this goes to last night's homework question. Rate of change over the interval from 2 to 2.5. So what we need to do, stop over to Desmos, and I've already put this problem in. And then I need to make a table. And I need 2. And I need 2.5. You'll notice my graph over here is much more thin, and that's just because the X and Y axis are not set the same. But in this case, it tells us that it is increasing So those are my two coordinates. So I can come back over here. So my two coordinates that I'm going to use is 2, 15, and 2.5, 30. And if you check, that does line up here. So we have 2 points. So now we can use our slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that becomes 30 minus 15 over 2.5 minus 2. So that is 15 over 0.5, which would equal 30 over 1. So what does this mean in terms of the situation? So they want us to answer that question. I'll come up here and answer it. What does that mean? That means that J travels 30 miles in 1 hour. And notice how I changed that to 30 over 1. You could have said 15 over 5, but that just isn't something we're as familiar with. If you told someone, well, I go 15 miles in a half hour, we always do things in per hour intervals. So 30 over 1 makes the most sense. You're doing the exact same thing here. Now they're talking about competing in a race. It rides past a water station. And this is the distance from the water station. So assume the graph represents the entire race. What can you tell about the race? We'll probably give a couple details there. How far they went, where the water station was, stuff like that. You could do a domain and range. I think it's okay to be specific, like what we did here. And then again, rate of change. And then you're doing the same thing here. What does it mean in both situations? And that's it for today. The other thing we can need to do is your attendance check-in if you haven't done it, and getting Mondays and Tuesdays assignments done so you're staying ahead, because this is a very short chapter. Quiz next Monday, tests next Friday. So that is all. Have a great day.